This is your Daily 5 for Monday, May 24th. I'm Bruce Fraser, today's host. 5 Wyckoff case studies is the topic for the day, plus a bonus. We're going to have a campaign candidate at the conclusion. Bitcoin, we're not going to talk a lot about Bitcoin in and of itself because I've covered it in recent power charting episodes. Classic distributional structure here, which we will come back to in a few minutes. I want to point out this point figure count, which goes to 31,000, 26,000 here, larger counts available to here. This count is in the vicinity of where Bitcoin is trading right now. This is the Renaissance IPO ETF. If you've been following my work, you know that I've been studying growth stock themes. We've had a growth stock dominance for the last, well, call it 10 years. And here you can see, and my thesis is that every major growth stock bull market ends with an IPO boom. So here we are looking at the IPO ETF as a proxy for the IPO market. Classic overbought condition, throw over, reversal back into the channel, and rides across the bottom of the demand line area of the channel, and now it's turned down. Here is a distribution schematic that I think is very close to what has been happening in IPOs. So we're going to talk about that more as we go on. Here is a very interesting chart. This is the IPO ETF with the distribution areas, and you can see this along these different points. But what I have done is I've lined up the IPO ETF to Bitcoin. Look at the family resemblance, but something very interesting has taken place. Bitcoin is more compact. Bitcoin has a tighter structure, but has very much a family resemblance to the IPO market. I have drawn lines here to the peaks, and you can see that the peaks and reactions and then the rally here and reaction all have very close relationship to the way that the Bitcoin bull market, at least for the moment, has topped out. Now, another interesting thing that's happened, and we're calling this a last point of supply, is that we've had this long drawn out redistribution in the IPO market and then a breakdown. But what happened is that the compression of Bitcoin in the final stages of this rally, a rally from a sign of weakness, poor quality rally where you can see the momentum waning as it gets into the final stages. Let me see if I can draw this of this advance, lower high, definite change of character, and then just a collapse or breakdown from the area of around 60,000 down to 30,000, which puts us in the area of our point and figure count. Purple arrow that I've drawn here is where IPO or where the Bitcoin is trading this weekend. I'm recording this on Sunday for Monday. So this is around 32,500 is the area where Bitcoin is trading this weekend. I've included this distribution schematic, which has an amazing family resemblance to both of these charts for you to be able to compare and contrast. This is a slightly different view. This is ARK Innovation Fund. So Kathy Wood, her fund, which has been quite the growth stock, momentum stock ETF in this cycle. And I want to point out that, again, just like with what we saw with the IPO fund, you can see that ARK has the same relationship here, and that it actually had topped out prior to the Bitcoin topping out, but the structure of the distribution is very, very similar. It's just that Bitcoin is more compact. So now, as you saw with the IPO fund, the Renaissance IPO, you can see the very large redistribution and then a failure here, much tighter. And then notice how only a week or so before the decline in Bitcoin, ARK started to break down. So there seems to be a tightening up, or the two different markets and instruments getting into alignment with each other as they begin to really break down. So anyway, I leave this to you to study further. It's a fascinating relationship. Now, this is just the IPO ETF with a point and figure count so that you can see how much potential there is. Reached a high of 77, counts down to around 32, which is more than a 50% decline of the high price and a very large distribution structure, which we've just evaluated, so I won't spend much more time on it. And then also here's First Trust IPO index, which is a little tighter. It counts down to around 98 at the worst from an area of 136. Here is the ARK fund, again, just for you to be able to see the counts. Here is the long-term upward stride of ARK Innovation, and then an overbought condition here and here with a throw over, and then a very sharp failure out of the upward channel, which we just looked at in more detail, but I wanted you to see the point and figure counts here. There's two, and then also keep in mind that this count could be made larger at a later point, but we always want to see it take one step at a time. And so we have worst case count of this redistribution area down 88 to 79. So we will keep a close eye on that because it tells us the temperature of the growth stock, momentum stock marketplace. Now let's turn our attention to the gold miners, which is a distinctly different theme, different trading at this time. It's a rotational analysis between what's been going on with these very growth-oriented, momentum-oriented Bitcoin, IPO, ARK, and so on. Look at what's happening here with the gold miners. So this GDX, which is actually an ETF of the gold mining stocks, and you can see the downward stride since August, and downward it goes. And then you have an inability to be able to get to the bottom of the channel, then a test, and now it's in a nice upward trend, attempting to get up into the area of the prior highs at 45. So this will be interesting to watch and see whether or not this can continue. But notice how the silver miners are actually trading with great tone here, because you can see that there's an accumulation structure and more of a flat reaccumulation in the silver miners than in the gold miners. So I've attempted to label this area with Wyckoff labeling. You can see a last point of support at the phase C low right here, upward stride. And then notice here, now these are both daily charts, is notice the consolidation in this area. Each time it's gotten up to resistance in the past, it's turned, after up thrusting, it's turned down sharply and suddenly back into the structure, back down to the area of support. Here, if we can see the silver miners consolidate in this area rather than turning back in, we will consider that to be an important change of character in the way that the silver miners are trading. This will be potentially very bullish and also indicate that this whole area of potential accumulation or reaccumulation is about done, and it's ready to work its way up to the resistance area and then potentially beyond. So this is actually a very good story for rotation, and there's a number of different places rotation is taking place. So we look at the IPOs, we look at the growth stocks. They really fell out of favor, not only here, but back in 2000 in the IPO blow off and boom and blow off. And here we can see that happening, but we can see rotation back into the real economy. And this is the area that we have been focusing our attention really since the middle of last year. We could see this happening. And so gold miners, silver miners are just one example of that potential. Now here is a very long-term chart. So let me go back here. This area that we just studied with the silver miners, well, let's go back and look. This is a monthly chart that goes all the way back to 2013. We can see accumulation, a downward stride, but early attempts at building a base. Well, what if this whole area here is a big accumulation structure? Big question. Well, this yellow shaded area represents what we just looked at with the silver miners back to August. Notice the important consolidation that's taking place here without it declining back into the accumulation structure. It's gone to resistance and it's attempting to hold in the area of the yellow box. If it can rise out of this area, this will be a very important indication of silver wanting to go into or continue its important uptrend. And so this is something we're going to watch closely. It's very difficult to get campaign candidates into their important uptrends, but once that happens, these are themes that can be in uptrends for years. And so this is why we really study these stocks. Now, here we're running out of time, so here's our campaign candidate for today. This is 13 years of data. This is Seabridge Gold, and you can see here it's actually jumped up and out and is consolidating above the area of prior resistance. So this is maybe slightly stronger. We'd love to see relative strength turn up. It hasn't done that yet. This is a really a small speculative name. Keep that in mind. This is weekly data, but it goes back to 2013. Running out of time here. So consolidation, looking for it to resume its upward trend. Here is Seabridge with the area just on the daily data going back into the zone where we're looking at that consolidation above prior resistance. So we want to see this starting to work its way up to resistance and beyond. And finally, I'll show you this point and figure chart. I'll let you study this on your own. This goes back to 2012. This is the large accumulation area. Look how great that looks on the point and figure. And with that, thank you so much for being here. We'll see you next time. So long.
Hey, Grayson Rose here with StockCharts. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed that video. If you did, consider giving it a like down below, maybe leave us a comment, and if you're new to the channel, you can subscribe at the link up above. We're gonna bring you daily content from an incredible collection of technical analysts and financial experts.